Everything I need is already here. Morning affirmations for trust, abundance, and alignment. There is something no one tells you about the mornings that change everything. They do not announce themselves. They do not arrive with signs or signals or any outer indication that today is the day something shifts inside you permanently. They look like every other morning. The light comes in the same way. The sounds outside are familiar. Your body moves through the same small rituals. And yet something underneath the surface of all of it is different. Something has already been decided while you slept. Something has already been set in motion in the invisible architecture of your life that the outer world has not yet caught up to. And if you are here right now, if something moved you to press play on this particular morning, then I want you to consider that this is not an accident. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because some part of you already knows that. What you have been asking for and working toward and trusting in, even on the days when trust costs you something you did not have to spare, is not as far away as it is felt. You are here because something in you is ready to receive. And receiving begins before you can see what is coming. That is the thing most people never learn. They wait for the evidence before they open. They wait for the proof before they trust. They wait for the blessing to arrive before they make space for it inside themselves. And in the waiting they stay closed. Closed hands cannot hold what is being released toward them. This is what the next 30 minutes are for. Not to convince you of something false. Not to perform a positivity that papers over difficulty. But to open you. To walk you through the specific interior shift that separates the life you have been living from the life that is already waiting for you on the other side of alignment. And it begins here, with 3 words that carry more power than most people will ever know how to use. Everything is here, not coming, not eventually. Not after you fix what is broken or earn what feels missing, or become the version of yourself you are not yet. Here, right now, in this moment, the alignment you've been searching for is not ahead of you. It has been running alongside you this entire time, waiting for you to turn and recognize it. This is the truth that your morning has been holding for you, and this is how we begin. There is a kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. You know the one. It is not the exhaustion that comes from doing too much. It is the exhaustion that comes from waiting, from hoping, from trusting in something you cannot yet see and carry. That trust through days that do not seem to reflect it back to you. It is the weight of a prayer that has been in the air for a long time. It is the fatigue of wanting and not yet having, of working and not yet arriving, of believing on a Tuesday and then losing the belief by Thursday and spending Friday trying to find it again. If you have felt that kind of tired, then you already understand something important. You understand that the problem is not effort. You have not been failing to work hard enough. The problem is alignment. And alignment is not about doing more. It is about receiving differently. There is a frequency that abundance travels on, and it cannot reach a person who is broadcasting on that frequency of lack. Not because the universe is cruel, not because you are being punished, but because the two frequencies cannot occupy the same interior space at the same time. When your mind is full of what is missing, there is no room for what is arriving. When your body is braced against what you fear, there is no openness for what you have been asking for to land. This is the conflict that most people are living inside without knowing it. They are praying for abundance on Sunday and broadcasting scarcity on Monday. They are speaking trust on the outside and rehearsing fear on the inside. And the result is a life that feels stuck. That feels like it is always almost there and never quite arriving. That feels like something is blocking the flow without knowing what the block is. The block is not the circumstances. The circumstances are actually a reflection. The block is the interior frequency, and the interior frequency can be changed. Right now, in this room, on this morning, with nothing more than the willingness to shift the one thing that is always and only within your control, where you are placing your attention, and what you are choosing to feel about what that attention lends on. This is the practice. This is the path. And everything you need to walk it is already here. Let us begin with the body, because the mind will resist this if we go there first. The mind has been trained by experience to be careful, to protect, to manage expectations so that the disappointment does not get too large. And that training is not your enemy. It has kept you safe in the ways that the mind knows how to keep you safe. But safety and alignment are not the same thing. And right now we are not looking for safety. We are looking for openness. So we begin with the body. Wherever you are right now, whether you are lying down or sitting or moving through the early tasks of the morning, I want you to take one breath that is deeper than the last. One. Not a forced breath. Not a performance of breathing. Just one deliberate inhale that reaches further down into the body than the shallow breath of a person who is already half inside the anxiety of the day. Take that breath. Let the body expand with it. And as you exhale, let something release. Not something specific. You do not need to know what it is. Just let the exhale carry something that has been sitting in the chest since before you woke up. The residue of yesterday. The anticipation of what today might demand, the low hum of whatever worry has been running underneath. Everything, let it move through and out. And now notice what is left. There is a quiet at the bottom of a real exhale, a moment that is not filled with anything yet. That is the space. That is the opening. That is what we are working with. In spiritual traditions across every culture and every century, the breath has been understood as the most direct access point to the place inside a person where they are connected to something larger than themselves. The word for breath and the word for spirit are the same word in more ancient languages than can be counted. This was not metaphor. This was a precise description of what breath actually is. The breath is how something that is beyond the body enters. The body, it is continuous. It is unconditional. It requires nothing from you. It arrives whether or not you have earned it, whether or not you are worthy of it, whether or not you believe in it. The breath does not wait for you to figure yourself out. Before it comes. And if that is true, and it is absolutely true, then the most foundational abundance in your existence is already arriving, on a rhythm that has never failed you. Not once in your entire life has the breath not come when the body needed it. Not once. That is provision. That is trust. That is everything you need already here before you do a single thing to deserve it. Thank you for the breath that comes without asking. Let those words land in the chest, not as a phrase, as a recognition of something real. You are being sustained right now by something that requires nothing from you. And if that something can be trusted with your breath, it can be trusted with the rest. Now we expand. This is how the practice of morning affirmations for trust and abundance actually works. It does not work by repeating phrases until you believe them. It works by moving outward from what is undeniably true into what is increasingly trusted. You start at the center. You start with what cannot be argued, and from there you move outward into what you are choosing to receive. So we started with the breath. Now we move to the morning. You woke up today. That sentence deserves more space than we usually give it. You woke up today. There are people who were alive yesterday who are not alive this morning. People with plans. People who were loved. People whose absence has already opened a grief in someone else's life that'll take years to close. You woke up. The morning came and your body was still in it. And that is not an accident either. The fact that you are here and conscious and breathing and reading these words on this specific morning out of all the mornings that have ever existed means that this morning has something for you, not as a vague spiritual comfort, this morning carries something that yesterday could not have. Given you the clarity that has been forming, the answer that has been assembling itself out of the pieces you have been gathering. The opportunity that required exactly the sequence of experiences you have had to be ready for. This morning is not just the next morning. It is the morning those things arrive. And arriving does not always mean a dramatic appearance. It often means a quiet recognition. A sudden seeing of something that was there before, but that you were not yet open enough to receive. Thank you for this morning. Thank you that I woke up inside it. Thank you that whatever this day is carrying toward me, I am here and open to receive it. Say those words in whatever form is true for you. Whatever interior language feels honest. Not out loud if the moment does not call for that, but from the real place. The place underneath performance and self-consciousness and the habit of managing what you let yourself feel. From there, because that place is where alignment lives. That place is the frequency that abundance can reach. Let us talk about what trust actually is, not what it is supposed to sound like, not what it looks like from the outside when someone performs it for an audience, what it actually is from the inside when you are in the AI. Middle of a situation that has not resolved, and you do not know when it will. Trust is not certainty. Trust is the decision to remain open in the absence of certainty. It is the choice to keep the hands unclenched even when the mind is rehearsing all the ways this could go wrong. It is the refusal to let the current conditions be the final word about what is possible. That is harder than it sounds, because the current conditions are very loud. They are visible. They have weight and texture, and they are right there every day, demanding to be interpreted as the whole truth. And the something that is flowing toward you is quiet. It is invisible. It has no weight that the body can feel yet. It is moving toward you through channels you cannot track. And the question that every morning asks without asking it is, which one of those things are you going to treat as more real? The visible thing that is already here, but that is not the destination. Or the invisible thing that is not yet here, but that is already in motion. The people who experience continuous abundance are not people who have been luckier. They are people who have made the decision again and again. On the mornings when it costs something to make it to tree, the invisible thing is more real. To say what is coming is more true than what is visible. To say the prayer is heard and the answer is in motion and the timing is being handled by something that knows more about timing than I do. That decision made repeatedly over mornings like this one is not passive. It is the most active thing a person can do. It is the interior work that the outer life eventually reflects. Everything I need is already here, not as a denial of what is hard, as a decision about what is most true, as the anchor that keeps the frequency where abundance can reach it. Everything I need is already here. There are 3 specific areas where alignment wants to move in your life right now. I want to speak to each one directly, not in a vague general way that could apply to anyone, in the specific way that belongs to the person who is here on this morning with this title in their ears and this particular weight in their chest. The first is the area of clarity. You have been carrying a question. Maybe you know exactly what it is. Maybe it is so familiar that you have stopped noticing it is there. It is the question about a direction, about a decision that keeps returning to the surface, about a next step that you cannot quite see clearly, about whether the thing you are building is actually the thing you are supposed to be building, about whether the door you are knocking on is the right door, or whether there is another door entirely that you have not yet found. That question has felt like a problem. It has felt like something is wrong because you do not have the answer yet. But it is not a problem. It is a process. Clarity is not instantaneous. It forms. It assembles itself from pieces that need time to arrange in the right order. And the fact that you do not have it yet does not mean it is not coming. It means it is not finished forming. Morning affirmations for clarity are not about forcing an answer. They are about creating the interior conditions that allow the answer to surface when it is ready. And those conditions are what you are building right now. Thank you for the clarity that is forming. Thank you that the answer I need is assembling itself. Thank you that I will recognize it when it arrives because I have been creating the silence for it to speak into. Say that from the real place and then let it go. Do not grip the clarity question. Do not keep turning it over, looking for the answer in the same familiar places. The answer will come from a direction you are not currently looking. Leave space in that direction. The second area is the area of connection. Human beings are not designed for isolation. Not the isolation of living alone, which is one thing. The isolation of being surrounded by people who do not actually see you. The loneliness of being known only partially. Of performing a version of yourself that fits the container. Of other people's expectations and never quite being able to show the full thing. You were made for a depth of connection that most environments do not make room for. And if you have been feeling the absence of that, if you have been feeling the weight of a loneliness that has nothing to do with how many people are in your life, then that feeling is important information. It is not a flaw. It is a compass. It is pointing toward something, toward people who are capable of receiving all of you. toward relationships that can hold the weight of honesty, toward a community that has space for the real version. Those people exist. They are not a fantasy. They are alive right now, living their lives, moving toward the same kind of depth you are looking for. And they are being moved toward you by the same invisible, arranging that is moving everything that belongs to you in your direction. Thank you for the connections that are coming. Thank you for the people who are capable of receiving me. Thank you that I am being moved toward them even on the mornings when I cannot feel the movement. Let that truth settle, not as a wish, as a welcome. The third area is the area of provision. And I want to address this one without apology and without the nervous hedging that spiritual content often adds around the subject of money and material abundance. You are allowed to want enough. You are allowed to want more than enough. You are allowed to want the freedom that comes from not spending your mental energy on financial fear. The desire for provision is not shallow. It is not a spiritual failure. It is the desire to live in a way that allows you to be fully present for the things and the people that matter to you, rather than spending the best of your attention on managing scarcity. That is a holy desire. It is the desire to be free so that you can give, to be stable so that you can build, to have enough so that generosity is not a sacrifice but a natural outpouring of what has been flowing through you. The universe is not withholding this from you as a test of spiritual purity. Provision is the consistent theme of every wisdom tradition. In human history, you were not made to struggle. You were made to flourish. And flourishing is not just internal. It includes the outer conditions of your life. It includes the resources that make certain kinds of impact possible. It includes the freedom that allows you to live according to what you actually value rather than what the pressure of survival demands. Thank you for the financial shift that is happening. Thank you for the opportunities that are being arranged. Thank you for the open doors that are ahead and the resources that are in motion, not from a place of grasping, from a place of aligned receiving, from open hands, from the frequency of someone who knows they are provided for and is simply welcoming the specific form the provision is taking right now. Everything I need is already here. Now I want to walk you through the most important practice in this entire 30 minutes. It is called receiving before seeing, and it is the single discipline that every person who experiences continuous trust and abundance has learned how to do. Here is the practice. Think of one specific thing you have been asking for. One prayer that has been in the air for a while. One desire that has been present long enough that you have started to negotiate with yourself about whether it is realistic? Hold it in mind. And now, instead of approaching it from the posture of asking, which always carries within it the frequency of not yet, having it approach it from the posture of receiving. Receiving is a different body. Receiving is open palms rather than reaching hands. Receiving is standing in the present fully rather than leaning into an uncertain future. Physically, if you can turn the palms upward, feel what that does to the chest. Something opens slightly. Something in the posture communicates to the nervous system that what is coming is welcome, that there is space here, that the hands are not full of fear or self-protection, that you are ready. Now, say inwardly with the palms open, thank you that this is already done in the place where things are done before they appear. Thank you that the answer is in motion. Thank you that the timing is being handled by something that knows the full picture and I only see a part of it. Thank you that when this arrives, it will arrive in the form that is actually right for my life, not just the form I have been imagining. Thank you. Feel the difference between that and asking. Asking creates a tension in the chest, a retching, a held breath. Receiving relaxes something. It releases the grip. It trusts the process rather than trying to manage it. The practice of morning affirmations for trust is not about convincing yourself of something. It is about practicing a posture, about rehearsing the interior orientation of a person whose hands are open. Because the morning you can sustain that posture through the whole day is the day you start noticing what has been arriving all along. Let us talk about what to do with the days when this is hard. Because there will be days when this is hard. Mornings when the weight is heavier and the trust feels thin, and the gap between where you are and where you want to be looks impossibly wide. Mornings when you open the palms and feel nothing coming. When the gratitude feels hollow and the affirmations feel like sentences you are saying into an empty room. Those mornings are not evidence that the practice does not work. They are evidence that the practice is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. On the easy mornings, anyone can trust. On the beautiful mornings, gratitude is automatic. On the mornings when everything is going well, abundance feels obvious. The mornings that build the frequency are the hard ones. The ones where you decide to turn the palms up anyway. Where you say thank you for the things not yet visible even, though the visible things are weighing on you. Where you choose the frequency of trust, not because it feels natural, but because you have decided that it is more true than the alternative. That decision made on the hard mornings is the muscle. That is the thing that compounds. That is the thing that over time makes the alignment continuous rather than occasional. On the hard mornings, come back to the simplest thing, the breath, the facts of the morning, the reality that you woke woke up inside a day that is not yet decided what it is, and let that be enough to stand on. Thank you for the breath. Thank you for the morning. Thank you that I am still in the process. That is enough. That is the whole practice on the days when more is not available. And it is enough to maintain the frequency. It is enough to keep the hands from closing. It is enough to stay in the flow of what is moving toward you, even on the days when you cannot feel it. Everything I need is already here, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days, because the hard days are when the practice becomes real, rather than comfortable. There's one more thing I want to give you before this morning ends. It is the thing that the most consistently abundant people in every area of life understand that the most consistently struggling people do not. And it is this: the outer world is always a late reflection of the inner world. Always. Circumstances you are living in right now are not because of your interior frequency. They're the effect of it. Which means changing the circumstances begins with changing the interior, not the other way around. This is counterintuitive. Everything in the practical world tells you to change the outer conditions and the inner experience will follow. Get the money and you will feel secure. Get the relationship and you will feel loved. Get the outcome and you will feel at peace. But the people who operate that way spend their whole lives one thing away from the experience they are trying to get, because the experience does not live in the thing. The experience lives in the frequency, and the frequency is an interior choice. The sequence that actually works is the one that feels backwards until you have lived it enough times to recognize it is the only way it ever actually works. First, the interior shift, then the outer reflection. First, the open hands, then what flows into them. First, the gratitude before the evidence, then the evidence that matches the gratitude. First, trust, then the things that prove the trust was warranted. This is not wishful thinking. This is the mechanics of how a human life actually moves. And the practice you have been doing in this room, this morning, is the first step of that sequence. You have been shifting the interior. You have been opening the frequency. You have been creating the conditions that make receiving possible. And now you are going to carry those conditions into the day. Not perfectly, not without interruption. The day will present things that challenge the frequency, moments that try to pull you back into the closed posture, into the reaching rather than the receiving. And when that happens, you have one practice. Return to the breath. Return to the palms open. Return to the simplest version of the affirmation. Everything I need is already here. Say it again. Mean it from whatever depth is available to you in that always does when you choose to return to it. Go into this day with 3 things. The first is an understanding that the alignment you have, Ben Segan's not ahead of you. It is alongside you right now, waiting for you to turn and recognize it in the ordinary things that day presents. The second is the practice of receiving before seeing. The habit of turning the palms up rather than reaching forward. The discipline of treating what is invisible and in motion as more true than what is visible and incomplete. The third is the patience of someone who has done the interior work and knows that the outer world is always a late reflection, not a passive patience, not a resigned waiting. The active patience of a person who trusts the timing of something larger than their own schedule, who does the work and releases the outcome, who blends and trusts the season without demanding to hold the harvest in the same moment as the seed. These 3 things carried into this day will change what the day is able to bring to you, not because of magic, because of alignment. Because when you are moving through the world at the frequency of trust and openness and genuine gratitude, you become someone who can see what was always arriving. You become someone whose hands are open when the blessing shows up in the form it actually takes rather than closed, because it did not arrive in the form you demanded. You become someone who recognizes provision in the ordinary, because you have trained your attention to look for it. There. That is the life. That is the abundance. That is what everything I need is already here, actually. Means not that nothing is missing, but that what is needed for this moment is present, and what is needed for the next moment is in motion, and what is needed for the moment after that is already being arranged by something that has access to the full picture. Trust that, not as a performance, as a practice, as the orientation of a person who has decided that the universe is fundamentally on their side and is moving toward a fullness that is real and coming and already here in the ways that matter most. Everything I need is already here. Morning affirmations for trust, abundance, and alignment. This is how the day begins. With open hands. With a quiet that knows. With the frequency of someone who has already received everything that is flowing toward them. Go into this morning, go into this day, wide open, deeply trusting, fully aligned. Everything is already here. It already is.